Got a few people here tonight. Appreciate you coming out. Tonight we will have a couple of work session items, and then we're going to transition into a abbreviated business meeting with a legislative hearing ANX 2207 and MA 2110 Pierce Farm will be on the business agenda. For the work session, we have the town campus review tonight. Plus Sheila wants a few minutes to talk about George Taylor. And then if we have time allows, we're going to have a Main Street mailbox discussion. So with that, I don't think we need approval agenda. If I don't hear anybody in opposition, we will move on. Not hearing any? Okay. Well, let's move on and take the first item, town campus. No introduction need. Come up. Kelly, is there anything you want to say before we get started?
Well, my comment is that Mayor and Town Board, Keith is back again, and I want to give you credit for keeping this project rolling and Keith staying on a timely fashion. Our goal tonight at the end of this is to seek your general, are you good with what's presented, and then ultimately try and move towards conclusion of this site planning effort. And after that, some key decisions will be made on how to implement it. But as promised, we wanted to come back a month after our last visit, refine the site plan a little bit more. Keith has a little bit more information. Commissioner Sutton and Medley were not present at the last meeting, so this is a good time if you have any questions to ask those. And we'll see where it goes. So Keith, it's all yours.
Okay, great.
Welcome.
Well, thank you all for having me back. And just kind of a summary, probably for the two that weren't here, you probably had seen a lot of the information. After the community meetings, there was a pretty good consensus overall that the option 3, if it could be refined and a few things fixed and improved, was kind of the right direction to go. And so we presented that last time. And this time we're going to show a few more refinements. We've talked a little more with the county and the library folks. We're honestly a little ahead of them, it feels like, at this point, but they're happy with the general area. They're going to want to get their hands into their design a little bit, and it'll change. I mean, any master plan is usually it's not a rigid document where it's always going to be 100% exactly what you see. It's the guiding principles, and as things develop, you know, you're using that as your basis to start from. So we'll just kind of refresh what we had here. We've refined a few little things on the traffic flow. We had large, let's see if you can see the little pointer. We had tons and tons of pavers and stuff all in here, probably be a big maintenance headache. So we simplified that a little bit, but we still have the general flows. We are showing the library blue just to kind of highlight it. Again, they may want to move it around up here a little and reshape it. That's all fine. These are placeholders. We haven't designed any of these buildings yet. But the locations is the big focal point. So we have a couple things beyond this that we were going to show today. I guess a couple things just to note. We have had our civil engineer size some of the stormwater requirements for the site. So you'll see there's 3 areas, if you can see where my little arrow is pointing. Kind of a slender one up here, a couple bigger ones towards the back of the site. Obviously, the wetlands are kind of the low area, so they'll be providing lots of drainage and natural filtration and all that. But there will be additional requirements because we're putting a lot of paved areas and a lot of buildings on this site. So we'll need to treat that and control that so we don't have flooding and things like that. So there's some of those are some of the main refinements there. We talked a little bit recently just about the TIA for the neighborhood in the back. And, you know, their road before was coming out here, and of course it wasn't accounting for, you know, anything that was going on here. So we'll, as part of going forward, when you're ready to do that, you know, there will be a TIA associated with this project that will obviously fold in the information for their traffic information. So that's all expected. We've got plenty of capacity. The flow into the site might not be controlled, like it might not have a stop sign as you're coming in. You've probably been a lot of places, well, a lot of malls and stuff have that, where you just flow straight on in, and the side traffic might have stop signs to control that, so. But yeah, other than that, we don't see any issues with that, so.
I got one question.
Yeah.
I was thinking about a few weeks ago. The large parking lot up to the north there, as our downtown grow, we're going to need more and more parking. So that's not that far that people could park there and walk. Is that access out there by the police station? Is that good enough for people to get to the street to walk up to downtown if you use that parking lot?
Yeah, actually, I think it'll be pretty nice, and there's more, as you may be traveling up from other areas, you kind of have it on both sides. We almost made it like little park-like areas, and that's actually a really good segue. I've got that 3D video, we updated it, so I can bring that up and show you. That shows that entry and kind of how nice that would be actually for pedestrians and all that. I think it's a real nice space, quite park-like actually. With that being said, I'll bring that up. One thing on the 3D images, just I mentioned it before, the buildings are just placeholders. We didn't want to just show a white box. That would have been really boring. But as architects, it's hard not to start a little bit. Don't get hung up on the designs. I don't like a lot of them, honestly. We'll make them what's appropriate for here, but it gives you the idea of the type of space and scale of the buildings that would be there. So use it for what it's worth. But the pathways, landscaping, things like that, the bridges you'll see. We have the Veterans Memorial. We've actually added sort of a reflecting pond on the bottom of it, and it may be different than what you want as far as a reflecting pool, but we thought that was actually a pretty neat place for it. So we've made a few little revisions, but I'll just let this run, and it's not very long. It gives you a good overview. So this is, you were talking about the pedestrian walkway back out there to the street. You can see how park-like and pedestrian friendly that would be. I do think that would be really nice to be able to head in different directions within the town. And this is sort of on the back side of the town hall. Again, the wetlands may not look that pretty right now, but we can probably plant some irises and some other things to give it some nice views. The Veterans Memorial there, that could be designed in any direction we want. Right now, we're showing all of the military branches, and then police, fire, and EMS all in there, sort of as individual monument pieces. But as you can see, the whole wetlands area, where at the beginning it might have seemed like a trouble spot, it's like the focal point. We have two focal points. You sort of have the civic campus feel when you come in, and then you have all that beautiful kind of natural park-like setting area that most of the buildings are looking out onto. So anyways, we're excited about those things. So the next thing we wanted to do that we hadn't really looked at is talk about the phasing. We have the budgets kind of, and we had done some early discussions about what priorities would be, and there's a lot of consensus in some areas, and then there was some discussion as to whether town hall or community center should go early. So that's the only deviation in this, is we have one where the town hall goes first, and one where town hall and police, and then the other one where police and community center does. And we went ahead and modeled those in 3D so that you kind of see what the void would look like, what it might feel like for a while. We thought that would be helpful. So with that, again, this is the full build out, everything, maxing the site out kind of view. These are just stills of what we just looked at. Again, we've actually, that one, we've reduced some of those pavers. That would be a lot of maintenance. So we've simplified that just a little bit. From the 3D shows that. And then there you can see the little bit of reflecting water at the base of the monument. We thought that might be a good place for that. There was some discussion about that last time. Let's see, let's get to the phasing. All right, so the phasing plan. So this one is if we did, now keep in mind the library, we're kind of considering the county's doing that, so that's sort of in phase one, but it's county money, mostly there. And so this has police and town hall as your first two. You can see the area where the fire station was and the community center are just left undeveloped in green. We may do some grading there, maybe some, as we're doing the overall site layout, road work, things like that. Maybe that's a good time to kind of get the building pads closer. We can move dirt around easier at that point. If we're digging out some areas in the BMPs, that might help build up some of those pad areas, things like that. But this gives you a little idea of the 3D. So this is with the police up on sort of the front corner here and town hall at the end of this entry drive. And then the library, again, probably changing a little bit, but some, over in this area. But you can see here, this is the area where the community center will be in this option. And this is the area where the fire station would be in this option.
Keith, in all your scenarios, one point is, do you anticipate a general full build-out of that park wet space area initially, or could that all be done in phases too?
It could be broken up into more phases. I think it might be good to design most of it all at once, and then based on, like, we'll do more detailed cost estimating. It might be that some things are alternates, and if you can't do the alternates, all the alternates now, that you have the design work kind of done so that you could do those in the future. It would make it easier. Plus, we're not making mistakes with grading and utilities for down the road too. Certain things would need to, obviously a lot of the road work would, and utilities, things like that.
So
Fire hydrants.
Stormwater with those improvements.
Stormwater, yep. So, but, maybe, 1 out of 3 bridges we're showing goes in now, and the other 2 could come later, and some things like that. So I think there's definitely flexibility in that. Yeah, and then we had the discussion is if we didn't do town hall first, maybe the community center first. So this is the only variation in this, so sort of an alternate thing. And so in this scenario is kind of leaving the room for the town hall, and then if you were to build the community center, so how that kind of builds out on there. So we thought it was just helpful to kind of see what you'd see for a while, and gives you a better feel for it. Phase 2 would be most likely the community center, and then with fire still being kind of the last piece coming in. So this one is assuming it would either be town hall or community center, depending on how you started out, the other piece that wasn't in the first phase. Again, still this remaining, kind of a nice green space for now, and that would be until the fire
Keith,
was built.
Sorry if you don't mind. There really hasn't been a presumption of which building would go first. So you have police department in both first phases, but that really hasn't been decided. I just want to be clear, right? There's still your opportunity, board, to figure out what you build and such like that. So, but
Sure.
you're showing that police department kind of
That's right.
as a piece, but it could be second phase too, if that's what the
Yep,
board
it
chose.
could be, it really could go in any direction. Yeah. Police, town hall, and community center from our first meetings all seemed just very high. Police and town hall, I think, had the majority of the push, but I think the community center was right on its heels. It wasn't as clear cut 1, 2, 3 as anybody would think. So the fire, I think, since it's not part of the town at the moment, all that seems naturally to be a little later in the.
Where do we shoot the
mix.
fireworks off from?
Kind of back, see where that arrow is down there, and that corner back there.
In that water? Where the water is?
Probably the bigger field.
Oh, down at the bottom?
That whole area generally is.
Down at the bottom.
So again, this is the full build out. Again, I think, the nice thing on this master plan, I think it really has this beautiful natural element, here. And with the memorial here, you got the views from the town hall, the community center, the library, all looking out onto that, from one side of their spaces. And then you also have that kind of really civic experience, and kind of has a lot to do with, the image of town as you pull in there and the scale of the buildings and the formality. And so it's got some really nice facets to it. And you're really utilizing the land. I mean, we have a lot in there, especially working around the wetlands. I think I was surprised we could do so much on there.
Keith, got a question for you, sir.
Yeah.
What would be the time limit or between phase 1 and phase 2?
So I think your financial study modeled things moving along pretty fast. I mean, within 5 years, I think that was, if I remember correctly, Davenport's study.
Yeah, so there's probably two answers to that.
Okay.
Answer one is financially, what you were presented last month ago was a scenario that you could do it all within a time period, just depending on how long a building would take, but you could do it all one time. Scenario two is, if you don't want to do that, then it really comes down to how fast you want to do it. And how long would a building take? Would it 2 years? If tomorrow something started, is it a 2.5 year?
Yeah, 2.5 years. Yeah, construction will be more than a year for each of those buildings, just because of the way construction is right now, probably,
The 2 year.
probably 14 months or so at least on those.
So that will not change my decision of what I said last time, but it's just the priority of when I came on board that we were talking about Cobblestone and the community center and how important it is for the town to have. So if I definitely had to choose between the phases, definitely would be the police and the community center to give the community what we really need, especially it's going to be like another 2.5 years for the town hall to come, because we still here. But if we did go that route, question for you, what do you see as in some of that parking for construction? How would that play a role if we go into those phases and the community center is built, the police station, and now here comes town hall? How does that play a role in, you think, the traffic and blocking off certain areas of the parking lot?
Well, and also the library, right? So that hopefully is going on at the same time, early on too. So it may be that, it might make sense to go ahead and build out all of the parking in that first phase, right? So
Do I was thinking.
then all the construction workers and all that would have that there. And then, it might be that maybe we don't build this, a certain area of parking so that it could be some laydown area for the town hall down the road. And maybe the community parking focused more down on this end to start with. And
Yes, sir.
so there's some little things like that, means and methods that would be worth thinking through.
That's good. That way we can
Good
kind of be
question.
a bit proactive on that, and that's good.
Mhm.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I have a question. This looks so pretty. I'm so excited. I wasn't here last work session, of course, so you all may have discussed this already, so bear with me if I'm repeating information. The Veterans Memorial.
Yes.
So when I think of a Veterans Memorial, I think of tranquility and peace and time of reflection. I've been to several in the county, specifically Nightdale is the one I'm thinking of right now, and how it really is a really tranquil area because it's in the middle of a park. I get a little concerned when I see the Veterans Memorial that appears to be kind of close to the community center, which is a very active space. Maybe y'all talked about that already, but it feels close to me. And it almost feels like it would be better situated more towards the library and the town hall side of things. And maybe it just looks that way and it's not as close as I think.
That's probably a better view of it. So in this one,
That's community center.
yeah, the community center, we kind of had like maybe more of the like arts and smaller wing sort of here. The gym part might maybe sort of towards the opposite end. Library sort of on this side and town hall. And what we were thinking, I mean, it certainly can move around pretty easily. The nice thing about this is it wasn't right on the traffic, but it was close enough you could walk to it from some convenient parking spots that maybe, you know, are handicap accessible spots. And the idea was to try to put it in this park setting and not on the road, but also something that is visible and noticeable from all of the buildings. Like it's something to not be forgotten about, you know? So you're right, it's sort of a balance, how tranquil and how remote versus how celebrated and how accessible, right? So there's plenty of places.
And I like it situated
Out
there.
there.
I just feel like it would be, the library is going to be quiet, right? The town hall is not going to be as busy as a community center. I know this is just a visual, but when I see that little kid with that ball, and then someone sitting there trying to reflect on a relative that they lost, that to me does not line up well. So just something to think about if it can be moved over a little bit closer towards the library and the town hall when I look at the aerial view.
Yeah,
So like more.
no, it absolutely can move around.
You see what I'm saying? So it's
yeah.
not as, because the community center is going to be popping.
I don't have my laser pointer.
I think there's pretty
Boom.
good flexibility on that piece. If
That's
any
good.
piece was easier to move around in this
Don't work on the
master
screen.
plan, I think that piece.
That was the
piece
easiest one.
definitely,
Oh, good.
yeah, works pretty good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. We had looked at some of the cost estimating we had done early on. These were 2025 costs. Everything's expensive these days. It's gone up 15% each of the last 3 years. We're starting to see a little leveling off. We had two fire stations get priced out. One was a construction manager project and one was a bid. The bid came in exactly like our estimate. The construction manager one was higher. It's about $1.5 million higher. Construction manager at risk is just one method to do these projects in. There's real advantages to that with long lead times and stuff like that. They can order things earlier. At a bid, it just, the clock starts at that point, where the construction manager would be involved from the beginning. And they use better subcontractors usually. They're vetting them and going through a qualification process all throughout. They can break up packages so that there can be better minority participation. So there are lots of good reasons to do that. It does cost more. These are bid prices. If we did construction manager, I think I have that broken out in a more detailed page, but construction manager would add probably about 6% to the construction
And
numbers.
the last element that adds a little bit of complexity, but it's what I understand it's doable, is we do debt. We have to go in front of LGC, and they view construction manager a little bit differently than a straight bid. You have to pretty much have your numbers really tight on that,
Yeah.
like a bid. So it's just a little bit more work on the LGC part.
Yeah, either way, you go through LGC, and so on our bid project, I was in Maiden, and the construction manager one that just priced at the same time was in Holly Springs, their new fire station. And so they both have to go through LGC, so we have to have a certified bid tab. They, even with the construction manager, they're still bidding it. They're breaking it up probably into a lot more subs and things like that. And they're pre-qualifying the subs, so there's a real advantage to that. You kind of get what you pay for in my mind there. Anyways, these numbers don't have that in there. If we just wanted to point that out. If we did construction manager at risk, we should add that 6% to the construction part. And here it kind of just talks about that. I actually broke it out in more detail. You see like for example, in the first one, the town hall building, I do have a CM allowance there. It's just not in the totals on the right side there. If you guys want me to update those with it in, I can as well. But I at least tried to indicate what I thought the extra cost is. And some of it is they do pre-construction services, so they do have a fee for that. But some of it's the better subs. You just are going to pay a little more for the better quality subcontractor. It's not just the lowest bid. It's the lowest bid of the pre-qualified.
Keith, just for sake of documentation, when the final gets done, it'd be good to have a footnote somewhere saying what you just said.
Yeah.
That, you know,
could do
if
a
you
little-
footnote this, these are bid costs. CMR might be X% higher or something like that, so we document that.
Yeah, I've got what I think the actual fees would be for that, and then I just put 0 here. Is that enough? I mean, I can do, yeah, but I just wanted to point that out. I'm not sure I'd really gone into that too much last time, so. This was sort of working through the site costs that we anticipated. This is also where I had put in, we had put in a budget of 700,000 for the
Okay, I was
memorial.
gonna, I was gonna ask, I was like, wow, this.
And that's what we thought, what we were showing would be about. Now, you could spend millions doing something, or you could spend less. I mean, so we felt like what we're showing in this, about 700,000 would cover that.
And that's today's cost.
That's
So-
to clear the space and put some concrete.
That's like a lot, right?
That seems like a lot, yeah. Maybe it was me, I didn't hear the whole comprehensive thing last time. That sounds
Yeah,
like a lot.
if you try to compare it to other things, it's impossible these days. It's just, like we
Impossible to
have,
do it for less?
what's that?
Impossible to do it for less?
No, we could do something for less, for sure. I just wanted to put in a healthy enough budget at this point, as a starting point. Once we get into like real design on these things, then we can
go down.
right-size the budgets and
that.
we can get, some detailed drawings. We added a reflecting pool to it, so I still feel like it's in the right ballpark there. But absolutely, that could be lower. Yeah, you could obviously go way over that, so we needed a.
Reflecting pond?
Yeah, in the last meeting, there was a few discussion points about having maybe a little reflecting pond somewhere on the site, not necessarily with the memorial, but it seemed, in my mind, that was a perfect place for it, honestly. And if we had, not that we'll do the design like we're showing, we kind of thought that was neat, but it's just a placeholder for now. Could be you have an artist do it or something, come up
It
with
seems like a
something
lot of
cute.
maintenance.
Yeah, it could be maintenance, you're right. Absolutely. So, yep, yeah, no doubt water features are for
It sounds
sure
pretty,
maintenance.
I'm just saying, it sounds like a lot
Yeah,
of maintenance.
no, it is maintenance for sure. Anyways, that's where we put that. We didn't have it as its own building. We thought it made sense to do that in sort of the initial site phase. Or at least put the infrastructure in. As Kelly was saying, we can do alternates, so we're showing a lot of bridges in there and pathways all over the place and lighting and benches and, depending on how the budget's going, we can set some of those up as alternates. And if you can't do them all at the beginning, doesn't mean they can't be added in future years too, so. We like to do that in the buildings too. When we design the buildings, we like to have alternates, so it helps protect you. I think when you get to the bid day, it gives you some flexibility. You can make some final decisions. If the numbers are coming in good, you can do some of the things you want to do. And then we'll also be doing, when you're ready to do work on the buildings, programming verification. This is all based on the previous programming work that was done. Some of those have been a little while, and by the time we get started, that would be a first thing to do, is to really sit down and meet and make sure those needs are still being met with that square footage, and could some of that be in a future phase? We've designed the footprints and the areas on the master plan to allow for there to be expansions in every building, so that was, an important piece of that. All right, so, next steps.
Wait, did you have an overall number? You didn't?
I don't think I ever
I got
added
like
them all up.
114
Did you add them
million.
all up?
I was just checking.
No, I didn't add them all up, to be quite honest.
I did.
Davenport did kind of. They, and they also took, we had some escalation factors if you didn't move, you're not going to move everything forward probably at the same time. So we gave them, I think it was 4.5% a year. That's not what's happened the last 3 years. It's closer to what had been happening before COVID. It's been 15% each of the last 3 years. It's been awful. But I do think it is starting to level out a little bit. So they use those 4.5, I think that 4.5%, and so they inflated the costs that much, however many years later it was going to be. So I think that's in their analysis. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Commissioner Sutton and Medley, I think I would like to present to you the YouTube of the meeting and kind of direct you towards like minute whatever when we started the Davenport conversation, because I think it is an important conversation you might want to look at and spend a moment on. So I'll remind myself to send you a note and ask you if you could spend. It was, in my opinion, a really good presentation, a lot of good information, and they did their best to show you what you could do. And so I think if you can take a look at that, and then you could get back to us to see if you have any questions.
I feel like I saw it because I watched the meeting,
Did
but I
you?
don't remember
Yeah,
the total cost.
right.
But
And
I
I'll send
think
it
he
out
was
to
doing it
I'll send it out to
graduated.
everybody, because quite frankly, I think we all should probably mark it and maybe refresh ourselves, because I need to do it myself. But
Gotcha.
Good idea.
Thanks, Kelly.
So, I think the next steps, we're kind of towards the end here on the master planning. I think generally, the feedback we've been getting, I feel like we've got a good solid master plan and a way to move forward. With y'all doing the Davenport piece together with it's nice because that helps you on the financial side figure that out, because that's obviously a big part. Let's see, Kelly, you were thinking here that you might have something for consideration in October?
I think it'd be beneficial for the town to go ahead and have a resolution that you would pass that states that this is our finals, this is a final result of this work that we've done so far. Because what that essentially does is, if you remember, a resolution is a statement of intent. That's all it is, a statement of intent. But it gives you the opportunity to have what you have worked on verified and kind of memorialized. Then we'll take that and go from here on out. It doesn't mean it won't change, but I do think it's an important step to go ahead and take some action that says, we like this site plan. This is what we intend to use for our planning purposes, financial purposes, however long it takes, and recognizing it'll move and shift. So that's, if you're okay with that, I'd like to bring that resolution to you on October 3rd meeting, and Keith will do whatever he needs to do, maybe finalize the site plan, attach it, and then probably include this presentation or another presentation as kind of a documentation of your effort at this time.
Okay.
So that would be scheduled for the meeting of October 3rd. And that would then, what would happen is, we did receive word from Wake County that they probably would schedule the November Library Commission meeting to review the site plan. And then they didn't know if the county commissioners would get to it before the end of the year or not, because they, like you, only have one meeting in December and tend to be in flux on that calendar, but they would do their best, they said. If not, I think they intend to get in front of the county commissioners. And it could be as late as January. But they do want to get in front of the county commissioners, was my sense.
Yeah, and they, their architect for the library is actually working on it now a little bit. We sent them a CAD file so they could start playing around with what they wanted to tinker with up in their part there. So we've had a good collaborative discussion effort back and forth. So we look forward to, continuing doing that. That's helpful. We can update the overall master plan as needed with that. Yeah, the other thing was we are changing what the Parker Ridge Road going straight out there was doing. So I think Kelly will probably need to have some discussions with them about figuring out what the value of what they were going to do was versus what, would be included in the phase one.
Late this
Road work.
afternoon, Dave and I both got an email from the Parker Ridge attorney saying they're ready to talk. So
Okay.
we're ready to engage on that.
Yeah, and then obviously that you guys have business with the county regarding the library and what kind of agreements you guys come to. That's, related to that piece of it. And then really, you guys let us know what you need next on our end. There's a few things that could get started, some wetlands delineations. I think we have a pretty good survey. If you guys want to enter into an agreement to start some design work, we'd love to work with you guys more and on any and all pieces of these that we can. So that's sort of what's ahead regarding this.
Okay.
Yeah, any other questions while I'm here?
Any other questions, board?
No, sir.
Thank you, Keith.
No, you're
Appreciate it.
welcome.
Good job, good
Yeah.
work.
Thank you. We're excited about this project and for you guys and all that. I mean, it'd be an amazing place, I think. So,
Really nice complex, I think.
yeah, for sure. So, all right. Well, thank you for having me, and
Thank you.
y'all just let me know if you have other questions and what we can do to help next. Yeah.
Thanks, Keith.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, we're going to have Commissioner Sutton speak a few minutes on what's coming up with the George Lynch effort.
George Taylor, yes. Thank you for the opportunity, Mayor.
George Taylor, right? Yeah,
Yes.
George Taylor effort.
I mentioned at our last meeting, beginning of the month, that I am working with a group called Wake County Community Remembrance Coalition, along with several other entities, in order to bring to our county a space in our impending library for George Taylor, who was lynched outside of Rolesville in November 1918. We are working in conjunction with the Equal Justice Initiative in Montgomery, Alabama. And I shared with the board just information about our efforts to present to the Library Commission tomorrow. So I wanted you all to be aware of that. It sounds like you all are very supportive. I think this is a great educational opportunity for our community to house this in the library so that it's protected and information to be shared. So I just want to read, just for the public's knowledge, kind of what the purpose of this is. And I will say, I am new to this team. This work started long before I came on board. Michelle and several of us the mayor went down in December. Well, you went in March. But this work started in 2018. So I am new to this work, but we are finally bringing this to Wake County. So basically what we're proposing to the commission is a space within the library for preserving the history of Wake County's era of enslavement, lynching, segregation, and mass incarceration. Displaying the Equal Justice Initiative, or EJI as I refer to it, steel memorial for George Taylor, who was lynched, as I said. It was actually November 5th, 1918, and it was on election night. And cultivating a space for restorative truth-telling, programming, and education that works towards addressing the harm caused by past injustices, racial terror, and ongoing systemic racism. And our goal is to create a place of learning, a place of reflection, and a place of healing. So several of us will be presenting to the commission tomorrow. We do have a Rolesville representative, Tony Kenyon, which owns a healthcare facility here in Rolesville. She's our representative. We'll be sharing with them tomorrow at lunchtime. And I just wanted the board to be aware that this is happening and ensure that I have you all support, because they did express this. The commission wanted to make sure that the board is supportive of this and our community is supportive of this. And then I wanted to answer any questions that you all might have about it. So if you have any questions, let me know. And you'll be there tomorrow, right?
Right.
I'll be there tomorrow too. Vicky had reached out to me.
Okay,
other day.
awesome, awesome, awesome. Any questions? And I did reach out to April as well. I know she's not here due to a death in her family. All right,
Thank you.
that's all I have.
Thanks for the update. That's good updates.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
that. Thank you. We do have 19 minutes, so Main Street mailboxes, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Brainstorming, this is all this is, and just seeing if you want to spend any time or effort on this. But for about 2 years, as we've walked and driven Main Street, we being staff, we keep our eye out on appearance and such. And what we're trying to accomplish with this project is part of all the elements. And one thing that we keep on rolling around is the wide variety of mailbox deliveries and services, mailboxes on Main Street. And we thought, would it be interesting from the community perspective for the town to put together a plan where residents on Main Street could receive a mailbox that's uniform together. And it's not part of the project, it would not be eligible for federal funding. The mail service folks like the idea for a wide variety of reasons, because some of the mailboxes are difficult to put in the mail, they just think it makes some sense.
You said the mail service people like it? Like you've talked to the post
Post
office?
office.
Wow, very
Yep.
good.
They've actually helped us on taking an inventory account of the mailboxes and such like that.
Awesome.
They're willing to help with the communication if we are so interested. But before I spend any more time on it, on this idea, I wanted to know if you thought it was a good idea. It doesn't mean we're going to do it, but what we do is come back to you and roll out a general plan with a communication plan, the costs and such like that. I would see that it probably would not happen until the Main Street project's pretty well far along done. The last kind of step, because you don't want to put mailboxes up in the middle of a construction zone and have them at risk or anything like that. And you know, Michael in his memo put a general cost to it.
What's that cost to, Kelly? That's the part I didn't get.
What's that?
Who's paying for that? The town is paying?
That's right. It would not, Postal Service will not pay for it. And I'm not encouraging you to say residents would pay for it. It would be a service the town would provide to provide a uniform mailbox on Main Street.
But is there preference also to go with the kiosk as well?
There probably is not, considering some spots, the Postal Service is interested in maybe consolidating some of the boxes. Instead of one here and here, bring them together closer so they don't have multiple stops.
Okay.
But they're not interested in saying, let's bring a residential neighborhood together and bring one kiosk. They recognize that's probably not a suitable option or an interest of mine to change the method of delivery. It's just trying to bring a better box look to the area. There are some boxes, I don't know how many, but they have been abandoned. They're not used, but they're there. So it's just, you know, you look at it, there's a separate cost for the post, there's a separate cost for the box, and then we would install them too.
It
Would
is
be my-
expensive.
Yeah,
I remember that from my HOA
a
days.
post box of any quality is probably $400 to $500 each. So, just a thought. I don't know if it makes sense. If you don't want us to spend any time on it, I'm fine with that. I just throw it out there as something that we have a little lead time. We could work on it, bring a proposal, and see if you're interested.
Well, you know I'm interested because I'm interested in appearance overall, and I think it's an enhancement to Main Street. So I don't think it hurts to look at what the cost would be. Because we're enhancing Main Street, why not make the rest of it look uniform so it looks intentional? And look at what that cost is.
Right, I agree.
And the town would pay for it once, and then after
We need an
that,
appearance
anything
commission, right?
would fall on,
Right, I think it'd just be our purpose to replace the existing mailbox one time. That's right.
Then it's on them.
You're good with the idea to
Yes,
let us
sir.
go forward and put together a proposal, and then we'll work through it, and then it may come earlier, but it might be part of the budget process, we'll see, but I just didn't want to go forward if it's
What
a
did you
crazy
say,
idea.
Commissioner
So,
a good idea.
About
Yep.
appearance?
Appearance committee?
Does anybody disagree with going forward with
I want you to say it louder.
any disagreement at all?
No, Dan was over here adding that we need an appearance committee.
I thought we had.
one month, we're going
Yep.
to talk about that.
Yep, we do.
Not yet.
I thought you did.
We do. It's coming.
What
All
else?
I have.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Come
all right. Open up for the board. Anything you want to mention in the workshop here?
I do want to say something real quick, and it's just a little observation that over the years that I've gone to the baseball game that we have once a year, the Mayor's Association, I would really like to see staff attend those that game, because this past game, it was mostly staff from other municipalities that were there, not as many commissioners. And it's a great opportunity for staff to get together, unwind, bring their kids. And my understanding is it is open to staff. So next year, let's try to make that happen.
I'll
That's really
check and
it.
see. It's my, when I've talked to other towns, it's typically administration staff that go. But,
Who would admin be? The front desk?
no, well,
Department?
administration department, yeah, so.
Oh.
But I don't, you tell me what you want to do.
I think it's a great opportunity to get staff out of the building and amongst each other and not talking about town business. That was it.
Yes, sir. I do have one thing from veterans, that the Disabled American Veterans, Wake County Chapter 1, located in Knightdale, is having their barbecue plate on Friday, September 15th, between 1100 hours through 5 p.m.
Where is it going to be?
at 1700 Hodge Road, Knightdale, right across the train
Send
tracks.
it to me. Can you send it to me?
I sure will.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? I think for sake of the public, we will take a quick adjournment until 7, because I think that's kind of what we had said, that we would start the business meeting at 7. So let's just take a quick break here, and we will come back together at 7. And we will pick up the legislative hearing ANX 2207 and MA 21-10 Pierce Farm. So we are on recess till that clock says 7 up there. So thank you. Everybody turn your mics back on and we'll get started. So I'm calling back to order the Rolesville Board of Commissioners. This is a short business session that we will be looking at one public hearing. This is a legislative hearing ANX 22-07 and MA 21-10 for Pierce Farms. I see Meredith is up to the mic, ready to go, and I think everybody is ready to go. Just some ground rules. I know we've had a couple public hearings already and at least 3 continuations on this one, so we want to wrap it up. So I see some of you are out here, has been here before. If you have spoke before, I'm only going to allow you to speak on something new. If you want to come back and rehash something that we did back in May and June, we just want to try to cut it short, okay? So if you got anything new, come up and talk about it, and we're going to hold everybody for 3 minutes. So Meredith, I'm going to let you get started. I don't even think the presenters is going to, applicants don't have that much to say tonight because we've kind of been over everything at least twice. We do have some new conditions we need to talk about, and that's the main thing I want us to concentrate on tonight is the new addition, conditions that's placed on it. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Meredith.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Curran. For your consideration this evening are the 2 applications for Pierce Farm, the rezoning and the annexation, MA 2110 and ANX 2207. You have seen this a few times before. Meeting dates started last October with the first planning board meeting, and the last time we discussed this, or the town board discussed this, was May 2nd. At that time, the rezoning case and annexation were continued to June 6th, then continued to August 1st, and then continued to this evening. And as per your direction, this presentation tonight focuses on what's new, but just to reorient everyone, this is a 223-acre site located between Forestville and Burlington Mills Roads. The request is to rezone the property from Wake County R30 and Town Residential Low to Residential Medium Conditional Zoning District. There is a site concept plan and conditions included and an annexation. So at the May 2nd Town Board meeting, you all requested clarification on 3 items. First, the greenway locations, you asked they be better illustrated in the site concept plan. Second, you all asked about timing for the amenity center to be built. And third, you asked about the timing for the collector road that goes through the site concept plan. So first, here is the updated site concept plan. And as I mentioned, the first item you asked for clarification on was the greenway location. I know, this concept plan was discussed with the Planning Board and the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. So what's new on this concept plan, if you look at the red laser pointer, this segment of the greenway has been added to the concept plan. In addition, the legend here showing proposed public greenways in white and proposed soft trails in yellow, that is new, and the yellow trail is shown on this concept plan. So those are new items here. So the applicant has proposed 5 new conditions, 2 of which address your concerns from the last meeting where we talked on May 2nd, and then 3 additional ones. First, the main amenity center timing would be complete before the 325th building permit. Second, timing for the east-west collector going through the project, that would be complete and open prior to the 175th building permit. The third new condition has to do with including on-lot grading and construction documents. And if you all have any questions about that, we do have our town engineer here, Brian Locks, if you would like to talk more about that. Fourth, the applicant is proposing to provide a certain amount of shrubs in the front and rear yards of homes. And then finally, the applicant is proposing to develop and donate a home to a veterans organization. Just a note, one resident contacted me voicing support for this case, and he said he and his wife could not be here this evening, so I said I would let you all know that this is an adjacent property owner who is sharing support. And in our LDO, there are 8 rezoning review standards for you all to consider when determining whether or not a rezoning should be approved or denied. And the first is the rezoning consistent with the comprehensive plan. Just a note, the proposed residential use is consistent with the future land use designation of medium-density residential, and the transportation network, and by that I mean the roadways and the greenways, are consistent with our community transportation plan, bike and greenway plans. Is the plan or the site concept plan and the request in compliance with the land development ordinance? Yes, and just a note, any subsequent development submittals must meet our land development ordinance and other regulations. There are no errors that are being corrected. The fourth review standard is our uses compatible with existing and allowed uses. And the proposed residential use, along with the landscape buffers and the open space in this plan, do provide a transition from the residential medium use to adjacent residentially zoned property as well as single-family housing. The fifth standard is efficient development ensured, such as capacity and safety of the street network, public facilities, and similar. And I'm noting here the community transportation plan compliance and roadway improvements do have the potential to enhance the capacity and safety of the street network. And we do have Pierre Tong here from Stantec this evening. Matt is out of state right now. If we have any questions about the traffic impact analysis, I know we've been over that a lot before. The sixth standard, result in orderly development pattern. The concept site plan does illustrate a layout of residential lots within a clear vehicular and pedestrian circulation network, and open space is a focal point of this plan along that east-west collector roadway. The seventh item, are there any adverse impacts on the environment? I hope we can be confident that our subsequent development submittals, since they have to meet land development ordinance regulations as well as state and federal regulations, that there would not be any adverse impacts on the environment. And then the eighth item, if the rezoning is conditional, does that rezoning address impacts and mitigate issues if property is developed under the general zoning district? So comparing a conditional zoning to a straight zoning district. And based on the conditions that the applicant has proposed, this would elevate the product versus what would be required in the straight residential medium zoning district. So staff does recommend approval of this rezoning request, and certainly available for any questions.
Okay. Any questions from the board for the staff? And we can come back to Meredith too. She's
Absolutely.
staying, so.
I don't have a question, but I did want to ask, I wanted to mention one thing in regards to the lot for the veterans. I would like that to include first responders as well and
Okay.
school teachers,
Okay.
to give everybody an option for
Yeah,
that.
the applicant let me know that they were willing to add to that condition that, that it could be one of the veterans organizations or something for first responders, teachers, or healthcare professionals.
Okay.
Awesome. Good point.
Thank you, Meredith.
Sure, thank you.
All right. How about the applicants? Any additional comments you would like to make?
Yes, thank you. And I'll promise to keep this brief. Good evening, Mayor, Boards, Commissioners. My name is David Bergmark. I'm a senior planner with McAdams here with Jacob Anderson and the rest of the development team here on behalf of the property owner for Pierce Farm. So since late last fall, our team was tasked with kind of taking this project over from the previous applicant and managing the rezoning process in a way that was more professional, more collaborative with neighbors, and just more creative overall. By applying our decades of local experience and just numerous hours of discussions and revisions with your staff and the team, we believe we've produced in the last 10 months a project that's materially very superior proposal compared to what was originally brought before you with this. We first presented our updates to you in June, and at that meeting we were asked to make some additions and revisions to a few conditions before this was brought before you for action. So we've now completed those updates, which are included in the information provided to staff and to you via staff. So to just quickly highlight those changes, we've updated, as Meredith mentioned, the trails and connections on the concept plan, provided commitments to the timing of both our main amenity site and the collector road. We provided conditions for lot grading that would be in coordination with your town engineer to address any concerns related to drainage or landscaping within those setback areas. We've created a set of standards for residential lot landscaping to help create a visually aesthetically pleasing streetscape and to accentuate the architectural conditions that we already had included in our application. And we provided a condition to donate a lot to either a veterans organization or, as Meredith mentioned, first responders or teachers. So you'll see those conditions or those commitments largely within conditions 12 through 16 of your packet. I'd like to close just by highlighting what we feel are some of the most notable public benefits of this project, both for the town of Rolesville as well as just the community at large. So this project would include over 9 acres of public parkland dedication to the town. In addition to that, 13 acres of active open space that would be managed and maintained by the Homeowners Association, including an 8-acre park site within that 13 acres. We have a commitment to build over 4,500 linear feet of public greenway trail, dedicate and build. And in addition to that, another 4,500 linear feet of private trails. So the combination of those two will really create a truly enhanced pedestrian environment and a truly cohesive project. And finally, last but not least, several $1 million worth of traffic improvements that will help enhance public safety as well as create improved access for both police and fire. So although this process has been somewhat complex and we're nearing on 2 years, we feel like the process has also really driven the application in terms of its planning principles that create a quality development that we feel is what we are bringing before you tonight. And we pledge to continue to listen to and work with neighbors throughout this process and be compassionate and patient as we work with those that are most impacted to just help assure that we create a mutually agreeable solution to all parties. So again, we'd just like to thank you and your staff for this opportunity tonight, for your consideration of this item, and our team is here to address any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, board? Everybody see the conditions that was submitted and have any questions on that? Did you have anybody else from the applicant side you want to?
Nobody else on our team unless it's just to respond to a question.
Okay, sounds good. Perfect. Thank you.
What firm are you with again? Did you say?
McAdams.
McAdams, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Robin, can you hand the sheet, please? Okay. Ann, you the first one to sign up. You want to come up and Ann Keith, state your name and address, Ann, for the record. And you heard what I said. I'm gonna call you down.
I signed something
I hate to
myself.
do that, Beth will be mad, but I'm 3 minutes is what you.
No, Ann Keith, 4244 Burlington Mills Road. And I own the property that is the L shape that goes in between and across from Tuckahoe 2, the path that's going to intersect on it. I just wanted to say that the companies have worked with me. They're going to give me privacy fence so I don't have children, dogs, whatever. And I'm not against that. But I have a path with renters on that path, and it could be very dangerous for the residents there and us. And also, I had the concern, and I've got a signed statement on it, I've got a well that is 50 yards from their property. And they are going to work with me if they hit my water line, excuse me, the water line or the whatever in the rock. But very pleased with, I knew it was coming. My granddaddy would probably turn over in his grave if he knew that there were this many houses going on it. But it is what it is.
Thank you, Ann. Appreciate that. Okay, Ricky Upchurch. How you doing, Ricky? I hadn't seen you in a long time. You still doing concrete work?
Yes, I am. Yes, my name is Ricky Upchurch. I live at 1929 Foster Road, and I got a good view. And my property is located right behind the development, and with the understanding I'm having, I agree with it. You know, I like to see improvement. And I do a lot of building. I've been building for the last 40 years, but I'm retired this year. But this year is about the best concept plan I've seen. I have been in a lot of subdivision, I've never seen one that's put together as good as I've seen this one here been put together. And like I said, I'm right there at the backyard of it, so if anybody gonna have any complaints about it, I would be the first one. So I do approve it, you know, and plus it'd be easy for me to get to the walking trail, you know, so if the town decide to let it go ahead with it, you know, I have no objection to it, you know, for us, you know, with the improvement, what they're gonna do on the road. It kind of would put the stoplight in, it kind of helps me out, get out, so you can only change what we can control, but like I said, with the traffic, you know, I have no objection. You know, you get the full one, it's gonna still be the same thing. You know, so if anybody worry about traffic, I'll be one of the main one worry about traffic. I live right on the road with the most impact in it. So it's something I had learned to get adjusted to, and we all learn over the years we can get adjusted to most anything that we need to get adjusted to. You know, so as far as I would like to see this project continue on.
Do you mind pointing to where you live? And I meant to ask her as well.
Okay.
On this screen so we can see it.
If you could use the mouse.
The mouse? Okay, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, he could just touch it.
Let me see, can I find this mouse? Okay.
Oh, okay, there we
I
go.
own this property from this point right here all the way up. I
Gotcha. Okay,
own this, so that's why I say it'd be easy for me to get to the walking trail at this point, you know, and plus with the private fence they put there, you know, I'm not a hard person to get along with, so I'm kind of used to seeing stuff like this, but like I said, over the years, with me building and stuff, and I've been in tons and tons of subdivisions, and I put in a lot of interest and stuff, and I can see, I know what good quality is, you know, from the beginning, you know, from when you start, but like I said, this is, if I had to rate this, be one of the top 10s I've seen in the last few that I've been putting in, you know.
How many years of experience you been doing concrete, sir?
I've been doing concrete for over 50 years. I'm not on the concrete, but I'm a stonemason, and I put in interest to all the subdivision. So I don't have a dog in this fight, you know, 'cause like I said, I'm retiring from this, but for us, with the quality I see, I like the concept of it, you know. So I have been to a lot of high-end neighborhoods, and no one, and with the small one, did a lot in Knightdale, Wendell, and Zebulon and stuff. So I really like it, you know. So I will hope the town will vote this to continue on, you know, just to help everything out. So I say my piece.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you, Rick. Appreciate you coming out tonight. I think it's your first time?
Yeah, this is my first time.
Good, good. Thank you. Thank you for coming out. David Bergmortz, you need to say anything else?
No, I'm just putting my name down for the clerk.
Put your name down for?
For the clerk, for the record.
Okay. In favor, is that?
Yes, sir.
Good. And Steve Hill, come on up, Steve. And I know you spoke before, so make sure it's something new, something different.
It is new.
minutes.
There's two things that they've put on the new conditions that I think are not going to be perfect, but they're better. The elevations on their drainage is the very minimum. It's not something that's unique or better. It's just a very minimum. So it's 2%, and with 10 foot between houses, that's 1.25 inches to the middle. So it's still going to stand and push water and whatnot that we talked about. And I was able to go with Commissioner Medley and Mr. Austin to 5401, and I showed them some issues on some 5,000 square foot lots that had drainage and issues that I think, you know, should be considered. That these 5,000 foot lots are really, you know, not great. So just wanted to point that back out. The other thing is the shrubbery they're proposing. It says a 2 to 4 foot shrubbery at maturity, but it would be 20 inches when it puts in. That's a silver polka dotted unicorn. They won't be able to buy that shrubbery at 20 inches when it only gets 2 to 4 foot tall. It's not available in this market. So it's a good concept, but it won't happen.
Okay.
It'll be smaller than that.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. That's all I have signed up. Now, I just see a couple have come in since sign up. Does anybody else care to speak in favor or against this? And you haven't spoke before, or you got anything new? Okay, I guess,
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question?
yes, sir.
This is for Meredith. If Meredith doesn't know, I want to redirect it to the applicant. Access B, Meredith, is that under the ownership's control, the developer's control, which is to Burlington Mills? That is the, up the space, the
Right by the
I
word
think
Burlington
so.
road
Mills.
leg outside the 5-acre
Up here?
tract? Yes. Have you seen if that's under the ownership or contract of the developer?
I am not sure. I don't know if, they have an easement.
Could you answer that question? Because it's not part of your property, but I want to make sure you do have something.
There's an easement with the Rolesville Rural Fire Department and the property owner of this. There's an easement that was agreed to in 2016, and it's recorded, and we can pass it on to you.
Recorded for access to this property?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Mayor Kern, I believe Ms. Amy Bonus would like to speak, and I don't think she put her name down on the sheet. Is that all right if she?
Okay, is she here?
Yes.
All right, come up. Yeah, if you would state your name and address for the record?
Hi, I'm Amy Bonus, and I live on Centaur Road, which is right across the street from Pierce Farms. And I just wanted to bring up that there's a lot of traffic that's going to be, that has been approved, a lot of developments that have been approved in Wake Forest, which neighbors this property. There's some units, like 1,400 trips off of Ligon Mill in Burlington. There's Sharon Farms, which is about 329. There's Marshall Station, which is in the queue. And when you add this all up, it adds up to over 6,000 trips. And this subdivision borders Wake Forest. And so when we look at the traffic, I just think living there, that is a really big consideration for us. It's going to add a huge amount of traffic there. And you also have the fact that the capital improvements on Capitol Boulevard and Burlington Mill, they've been postponed indefinitely. And so that was like a huge traffic complex that would help alleviate traffic, and now they don't know when they're going to do that. So I still have the issue of traffic, which we haven't, that I know people keep saying that it's solved, but it just doesn't seem like living right there that it's going to be. The proximity of the homes 10 feet apart, as Steve's brought up before, like there's not enough sunlight to come in, then you have water, it sits there, it runs off, then it goes into the parking lots, and then there's oil and dirt and like all the things that go in there, and then it just goes into our streams. And where we live on a farm right across the street, we have a lot of sedimentation in our pond that we have to actually pay somebody to come in and remove. And I don't think that the homes being so close together is a good idea, the small lots. And thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. All right, Meredith, you got any closing thoughts before I turn it over to the board?
I have a slide for you with proposed motions.
Okay. Any questions for Meredith? Board, last chance.
I do have a question, because that is a big deal that's happening. I'm not saying for this particular development. So how are we moving forward with that, where we have properties that are going to be affected by or impacted by, I guess, the funds that were pulled back from Capitol Boulevard and what other, I'm not sure what other streets and highways are going to be affected by that. How's that going to affect, how are we proactive with that?
Is that an engineer question?
Does that make sense? Like if that, you know what I'm referring to, right?
Talking about changes with roadway improvements on Capitol Boulevard, and how does
Correct.
that?
Like the funding was taken back from them, so those improvements are not going to be done. There was no time frame given for when they would be completed. So
Was
how
that
does,
factored into the traffic study from the beginning?
I
though?
don't think so, because this is pretty recent. But I can't confirm that.
Right. So is the traffic engineer here?
Yes, we have Pierre
Great.
from Stantec is here. I don't know if you can help us out.
So I don't know if that was factored in.
Could you repeat what the question was again?
There was some funding that was set that was set aside for Capitol Boulevard. I'm trying to figure out how far, I think it went up one and it came down into our area, basically, but not necessarily Roseville. But it will impact some of the developments that are up against the border of Wake Forest. So if they're not changing their roadways as they said they would, and then you have all these different traffic studies that were done based on these improvements, what does that mean for us if those improvements are not going to be done?
But the question that I am with you, what I asked was, were those improvements figured in if there was no funding?
We did not include any
didn't
improvements
think
on Capitol Boulevard as part of this traffic study.
Right. It wasn't figured
But
in.
it's not just Capitol Boulevard that's impacted by that, right? I'm still reading up on it, so my question may still be early. I may have to save it for the next public hearing. So you're fine.
Any other questions?
I'm good. I just
Okay.
wanted to know if it factored that in, because if
No,
it
no,
didn't,
we
then it
didn't.
doesn't
We didn't
change.
factor in. We did factor in the project on US 401 at Forestville Road.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, board?
That's good.
Just one for Meredith, and I think you had spoke on that. If you could probably repeat it, but it goes to the concerns that Mr. Hill had and Ms. Bonus. But you said something about the surveyor and our engineers will be involved in that process.
Yes, we have our town engineer here this evening, and
Good.
with this condition that the applicant has proposed about having the on-lot grading on our construction documents, that will give our technical review committee reviewers an opportunity to get more involved in that and make sure everything looks good.
Is that person prepared to speak?
Brian is here if you would like a little more information on,
Well, just so everyone in the audience can definitely understand that process.
I can go back to the condition sheet.
I just want to make sure that all the questions that was answered, that were asked in the audience be addressed.
No, it should be fine. I'm Brian Laux with Bolton and Mink, CJS. We are the town engineer. The one thing I would like to state is this is very standard that I've seen in other communities that we work within. I'm not sure exactly how the engineer is proposing other than what is stated in this particular statement about the on-lot grading. A lot of times what the town of Rolesville has had in the past is just the grading of the roads. Everything beyond the right-of-way within the parcel, there's nothing specified for finished grade, minimum lot grades other than the standards. This is a lot more detailed. It's going to be a lot easier on the town when they go through to do the plot planning for every individual lot. It's going to make it more simplified for the inspector when he's out in the field, knowing what direction the drainage should be going versus just guessing. So it is going to be a lot more detailed. There are other methods and processes that could be done on top of this, but with what they're proposing, it's far superior than what we've had in the past through the town of Rolesville.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Dane. Anything else, Dave?
No, sir.
I did not sign up to speak, but I would like to, if I could.
You what?
Kelly Jennings was just saying she did not sign up to speak, and she wanted to know if she could speak.
Sure. Have you spoke before? Is it something new?
I promise it's different.
It's got to be new. You got 3 minutes. Okay.
And it's on the heels of what's being discussed
Okay.
right now.
Yeah, and you the Harvest Moon?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And I'm at 3901 Burlington Mills Road. My name is Kelly Jennings. And obviously, with all the addresses that I've made both to the planning board and to you guys, my primary concern has and will remain the impacts that this development and this project will have both on my home and business there. But speaking of the traffic situation, I think what happens is regardless of the Capitol Boulevard project being pulled or defunded for right now, this morning I was coming off of US 1, going now, I guess, eastbound on Burlington Mills Road. From the time that I got on Forestville Road, all the way to just about Kitchen Farms, which is about 1.9 miles. Burlington Mills, I'm sorry, Burlington Mills Road, turning onto Burlington Mills off of US 1. For almost 2 miles, cars were at a standstill trying to access Capitol Boulevard. When I got to, as I was approaching Ligon Mill, the same thing. They were at a standstill from Ligon Mill all the way beyond Kitchen Farm, almost to the Neuse River Bridge there. So while the analysis of the US 1 corridor may have not come into play, what's happening is all the developments on the interior, we're doing improvements to Ligon Mill and Burlington Mills, and Forestville and Burlington Mills where we are. So you're going to expedite people through these intersections on the interior to go where? They can't get on Capitol, and you can't get, 98 bypass is hardly a bypass, so if you're going towards the Rogers Road and that area, you run into the same traffic either way because there's no egress out of that area. And one of the things that I feel like is happening too is that with two communities that, with the proximity that Wake Forest and Rolesville have, one development in and of itself, that density is not, negative on its own, but what you have is the sum total of all of these things where you've got Wake Forest that just approved, 2 approved rezoning that adds, upwards of 500 new homes, and then, 189 units in review. So you've got, none of these alone are detrimental, but the consequence of all of them together at the same time is creating difficulty. And I think it's a disservice to the community to continue to do this without the relief that's required to be able to get them, on the highways that they need to get on. It's just, it's, I don't know, how to fix it, so to speak, but I just know that that I feel what the pains of what it's causing with all the development, both communities. So, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Come on up. Come on up, Margaret. State your name and address, please.
Margaret Watkins, 407 Belmelin Court. I actually looked at this today because I had some concerns with the traffic. The Access C, would you guys be willing to do like a right out for that access road? It's I was just thinking that having the Access C with the right out would help encourage folks to go 401 versus Capitol, and also would encourage the folks living there to shop in Rolesville versus Wake Forest or Raleigh. And then the other thing, sorry, I know y'all have had a lot going on, that's why I didn't contact y'all. Would y'all be willing to put in a warranty for the stormwater infrastructure?
That's required.
This is on there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that's required under state law.
okay, I didn't know that. You're teaching me. Okay. All right, that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Margaret. Appreciate that. I'm not sure if it's any value to board from that, but any questions, follow-up questions, anything?
I don't have any questions, but I do feel that we need to become more versed on what happened in Roseville with that money being taken back and how that's going to impact Roseville. So I just want to say that because
Okay.
it's important moving forward.
All right. Any questions, Paul? I'm going to close the public hearing then. And I will turn it over to the board for deliberations and a decision.
I'm ready to
move-
make a motion.
Oh, go ahead.
Motion to approve the rezoning map amendment request MA 2110 Pierce Farm.
Okay, I have a motion to approve MA 2110 Pierce Farm. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Discussion.
Not hearing any. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any. That one carries.
The second one is a motion to adopt a plan consistency statement and a statement of reasonableness for MA 21-10.
Okay,
Second.
I think Sheila had it first. So we got a motion on the floor for approval of the consistent statement and a second. Is there any other discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then lastly, the annexation motion.
Make a motion to approve the voluntary annexation petition received under GS 160A31 for Annex 2207 Pierce Farm.
Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All three motions occurred. Thank you, Meredith. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming and speaking. This board is very respectful of the community and any comments that you have, so thank you for coming. Good to see you, Ricky. Thank you. Appreciate that. And with that, is there any other business the board would like to take up during this abbreviated business meeting?
I do have one other thing to add on George Taylor because I completely spaced it. Tomorrow, we are presenting to the Library Commission for their support, but the approval does need to come from the Wake County Commissioners. So I didn't want you all to think that that was full and final. This is step one in the process. That's
All
it.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think one thing I would add is the Rolesville Ram football season kicks off Friday night, 18th. They are playing the Butler Bulldogs, which is from Matthews, near Charlotte, which has won a couple state championships. If you follow high school football, they're pretty daggone good. So they're gonna bring a pretty good team in for first game, and it should be pretty good. I hear a lot of good things about the football team this year. They got a new coach, Raina Rackley. I think is going to do a really good job. So it's the best thing in Rolesville on Friday nights if they're in town. If you see the lights out there, go to the game because it's the best gig in town. So hope to see you out there. I'm planning to be there unless something happens. So I hope you guys be out there. And they got a special halftime thing they're going to do. And I'm not sure if it's publicly known, so I don't want to speak of it because it deals with honor some families and stuff. So be there if you can. Anything else from the board?
Normally, we
All
would be
right.
running out the door.
Well, unless there's objection, I'm just going to adjourn this meeting. Not hearing any, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
7:38.